Hey, my name's Nick. Today, let's look at how to squat, or malasana, or the Asian squat, or the Slavic squat, whatever you want to call it. When I was thinking about what to say for this introduction, I thought about all of the reasons why squatting is so important and realized that there are just too many for a short introduction. The reasons why squatting is important could be a video all on its own, so instead I'll just say that squatting is one of those rare fountain of youth kind of activities. It's right up there with sleep and good nutrition. Being able to maintain the strength and flexibility of your lower body is essential if you want to stay mobile, independent, and pain-free. And squatting has everything you need. Our bodies are evolved to squat. If you can make it a habit and learn how to rest in a squat, you will live a healthier and more rewarding life. I truly believe that. So today, let's talk about how to do it. We'll look at how to improve the range of motion for each of the joints individually. Then we'll cover the number one mistake that people make while working on their squat, and I will show you an easy way to put it all together. But before we do, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Before we get started, if there are other poses that you're struggling with, then leave a comment down below and we'll see if we can sort them out. All right. There is a good chance that you've tried to improve your squat before, but you haven't seen the results. So before we really dive into it, let's talk about what not to do. When trying to improve their flexibility, not just for squats, but in general, what I see a lot of people doing is they'll get down into their squat or their stretch or whatever it is. They'll get down as far as they can, and then they'll grit their teeth and wait. This is passive stretching. It's not always a bad idea, but if you want to improve your flexibility, you'll get much better results stretching with proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, or PNF. That sounds complicated, but in practice, it's pretty simple. PNF basically involves moving a joint into its end range and holding that position, and then activating the muscles that move that joint for about 10 seconds, then relaxing those muscles again and pushing or pulling the joint a little bit further into a stretch. The reasons that this works is that the nervous system has a learned safe range of motion for your joints. And when you're in a stretch, you'll reach the nervous system's safe limit before you reach the actual physical limit and range of motion for the joint. So by firing the muscles in a stretched position, we're essentially retraining the nervous system to learn a new safe range and allowing the joint to enjoy a little bit more range of motion. Anyway, that's one of those things. It's just easier to learn by doing. It's not that complicated, like I mentioned. So let's start with some PNF stretching for the individual joint actions involved with a squat. We will start with hip flexion. You will need a place to lie down and a belt or a strap. So let's get to it. All right, hip flexion. Take your strap around the back of your knee and come lie down on your back. The breath here is what's going to make this all work. So before doing anything else, check in with your breath, rest a hand on your belly, make sure that you are exhaling fully all the way down and inhaling deep into the abdomen. Deep, relaxed breaths are what is going to give your nervous system the signal that, yes, it's okay to relax and release into the stretch. So once you have your breath sorted, pull your knee as close into your chest as it's going to get. Doesn't matter how far you get. Hold it there. Make sure your knee isn't going anywhere, but try to push your knee away from your chest. Feel the muscles around the hip engage as you push your knee away. Hold and push continuously for about 10 seconds. You don't need to push as hard as you can. So long as you're engaging the muscles here, it's going to work. So continue breathing, continue pushing, and exhale. Stop pushing, relax your muscles, and allow the knee to slide up in closer to your chest. Now, you might not get that far. That's fine. However far you get, hold there. Stay for another 5 breaths or so. Just feel the stretch. And then repeat. Hold whatever position you have and push again. Push for about 10 seconds or so, continuously pushing. Exhale, relax, and pull the knee in. Do this 3 to 5 times. Release your leg, shake it out, and do the other side. All right, working on knee flexion. Again with the strap, still on your back. This time, take the strap around the front of your ankle and come to lie down on your back. Same thing, check in with the breath first. Make sure your breathing is nice and even. Begin by pulling your knee in as close as it's going to get. Hold on to your straps. Try to slide your foot away from your hips, pushing the front of your ankle into the straps. Continuously push for about 10 seconds. Keep the breath even. After about 10 seconds, release and pull the foot in closer to your hips. Again, it doesn't matter how much farther you get. It might not be that far. It might just be a little bit. That's fine. Rest with whatever extra range of motion you have for about 5 breaths. And then repeat. Kick into the strap. Try to slide your foot away. Breathe. Hold. And then release. Pull the foot in slightly closer. All right. That's it for knee flexion. Again, repeat 3 to 5 times. Then straighten your leg out. Shake it out. And do the other side. Next, hip abduction. This one is a little bit trickier than the other 3. So I'm going to show you 3 different stretches for hip abduction. They all have their advantages. They all have their drawbacks. You'll have to play around to figure out which one is right for you. This first one we're going to do, you will need perhaps something to sit on. So I'm using 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, then a small stool, cushions, pillows, anything that will lift your hips up high enough that your hips can rotate forward. So it's easy to see this way. We're doing a butterfly Baddha Konasana stretch, helping the knees open out to the side, but this only works if you can get your hips to rotate forward. This is why the blocks are important. If you try this on the ground and your hips are rotating backwards, it doesn't matter how much you push down on your knees, you're not going to be able to open the hips. So hip rotation first, rotate the hips forward, then work on pushing the knees down. So I'm doing this with blocks. You might need to do it with a higher or lower setting enough that you can feel your sitting bones underneath you, not in front of your hips. So anterior rotation first, then bring the soles of the feet together. Check in with your breath, full deep breathing, exhaling deep into the belly, inhaling deep into the belly. Start by letting your knees drop down to whatever stretch they have available, and then brace your hands against your knees and squeeze your knees together into your hands. Squeeze your knees in for about 10 seconds, continually breathing. applying continuous pressure. And then release, stop pushing, allow your knees to open up a little bit more. Pause, stay with your stretch, hold it for about 5 breaths. And then squeeze into your hands again. Again, you're not letting the hips move, you're just squeezing the muscles. Hold and breathe for about 10 seconds. And then relax the muscles. Let the hips open farther. So you will need, for a squat, about 45 degrees of hip abduction on each side. So you can get your knees to be about 90 degrees together. This is going to be a kind of extreme amount. You don't need nearly this much for Malasana work. 45 on each side is going to be fine. All right, if Baddha Konasana, if the butterfly stretch doesn't work for hip abduction for you, you can try a different version with one knee on a folded up towel. You will need a slippery surface for this one to work, so I'm using a towel and the floor, but anything that's slidey will do fine. So come on to one knee on the towel and one leg out to the side. Begin by letting the towel slide open as far as is comfortable, and work here. Try to squeeze your legs together. You're not going to go anywhere, but hold the engagement of the muscles for, again, about 10 seconds. Focus on your breath. Big exhales, deep relaxing inhales. After about 10 seconds, release the muscles, let the hips slide a little bit wider apart. You might not come very far, that's fine. Hold. And after about 5 breaths of holding, squeeze again. Squeeze, hold for about 10 seconds. And again, then release. Maybe a little bit lower, maybe not. Repeat this one again 3 to 5 times. Take a break, shake it out, and then the same thing on the other side. Okay, the last hip abduction stretch we're going to look at may be the most accessible, but you will need to have a little bit more strength in your arm for this to work. So again, come down onto your back with a strap. Take your strap around the bottom of the leg, and I'm working on my right side, so I'm going to hold the strap in my right hand. Bend your knee and let your knee drop down to the side as far as it's going to go. Once down there, hold on to your strap, and you have to be strong enough in your shoulders and your triceps to push your hand down to the floor and create resistance for your knee to push against. So again, you don't need to create a lot of resistance for this to work, enough to engage the muscles. Push for about 10 seconds, and then release the hip. Let your arm pull the hip down a little bit more. Rest, breathe, feel the stretch. Hold for about 5 breaths, and then push again. Again, this is maybe the most accessible one. You can do it lying down, but you will have to work a little bit more in the arm and the shoulder for this to work. Looking at dorsiflexion of the ankle, you will need a chair or a stool or box or something you can step your foot onto. So stand up, step the toes of one foot onto the box, and let your heel drop as far down as your muscles allow, your stretch allows. Brace your arms over the top of your knee to create some resistance, and try to lift your heel up, push your heel up. Your leg is probably going to be strong enough to lift up here, so you don't want to push up as powerfully as you can, just enough to feel like you're pushing a little bit, creating some resistance. Hold for 10 seconds. Focus on the breath. Big exhales. After 10 seconds, Release the muscles. Let your heel drop down. Pause. Feel the stretch. Take about 5 breaths. And push again. Again, just a little bit of resistance. Push continuously for about 10 seconds. And then release again. Repeat this again 3 to 5 times. Switch legs, shake it out. You probably only need enough dorsiflexion to bring your knee over your toes. All right, so that is PNF stretching in a nutshell. Move into a stretch, push or pull against resistance, then relax, move a little bit farther, pause, and repeat. And now we're going to put that all together with doing a squat. So I have a kind of TRX single strap setup, but any kind of rope or door frame you can pull against just so you don't fall over, so you can get back up, will be fine. But as much as you can, try to keep your weight onto your feet. Start by stepping your feet out slightly wider than hip distance apart and point your toes out slightly to the left and right, like 10 and 2. The idea here is to keep the knees bending in the direction of the toes, so your thigh bone and your feet can remain parallel. Just like we had with our PNF stretches, we're going to come down as far as we can into Malasana, into a squat. Then we'll resist by lifting up, trying to engage the muscles just a little bit. We'll hold that engagement for about 10 seconds, and then we'll relax and lower a little bit more. Pause, breathe, we'll stand back up, and then repeat. So we'll walk through it together one time, but you can always repeat this 3 to 5 times as you like. Okay. Lower down into whatever Malasana stretch you can, whatever squat is available to you. If your heels lift up off of the ground, don't worry about it. Find your end range. Once you've found your range, lift up just a little bit. Engage the muscles around the knees, around the hips, around the ankles. Hold and breathe 10 seconds. Even deep breathing. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax the muscles, lower down. Maybe you came a little bit farther. Wherever you are, pause, hold there. If your heels are still off the ground, that's fine. Let them relax towards the floor. Hold for about 5 breaths. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stand back up. The rope is there to help you pull back up. And shake out your legs. All right, so that is training to lower down into a squat. All right, good luck. You can find the outline for this class down below in the description. If it was helpful and you want to see more like it, then let me know in the comments. Till next time.